Hello and welcome to Key Radio Live. Today we're finally talking about the One Book Club because I've been touching grass for about like a month, which is like, it's almost been a month since the release of the visual novel, which just does not feel real to me.
We delayed this book club a little bit so our main host could be here, because it's pretty important to have Manpig on, like, leading this one.
Yeah, I'm like, for those who haven't caught up with, I'm like one of the biggest One fans you'll ever find.
It was because of you, before we actually met, I watched one of your videos, your Moon review, and it was because of that I even learned tactics existed before you and I became friends, which I just think is really funny. So I do like kind of owe this to you that I even bothered to read this.
Yeah, I've heard that was the case for Tori as well, which like I'm really happy that was the case, because I feel like tactics works deserve more attention because they are important history and there's a lot to find and love with them. So yeah, I'm like one of the biggest One fans ever. I absolutely love this work, flaws included, which we will talk about, but it is an old work. It's not perfect, but it's one that's very dear to my heart, and because of that, I want to talk at length about it. Joining me here is, as usual, my boy, Lucci.
What up, what up?
Yep. And for the first episode, we had to like squish in a lot of the episodes together due to the scheduling of my vacation.
You had stuff to do on the front end, and I have stuff to do on the back end, so we have like 3 weeks where both Manpig and I are free, and we had to put like 6.5 routes into 3 weeks. So there's going to be some intermingling with these episodes, which is fine considering these routes are short. So today will be Common Route, Mio Route, Misaki Route, and also we'll kind of briefly touch on the Misao story. And this will be full spoilers for those routes. So if you have not read at least those routes, turn back, read them, and then come back. Yes,
we will definitely upload this soon, so there's no rush. Mm-hmm. And you can enjoy the podcast whenever you want to.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it's finally time. Holy crap! We've waited so long for this remake to come out. Like, I don't think I've ever been this hyped for a visual novel ever. And it's a visual novel that's definitely met my expectations. I was very happy, and then we got to see a lot of people. Yeah, as said, we got to host another book club, and this was probably one of the bigger ones we've had, aside from like Summer Pockets, which was just gigantic.
Like just looking at like activity of the book club channel, this is our second most active book club.
Yeah, and it made me so happy to see that, because like one really does deserve more eyes on it. Is
not anywhere near as big a visual novel as Reflection Blue, and it got almost as active, and it is a smaller key release than Rewrite, and it got more people reading it. It was so cool to see. People were eating this up, both people who read the original, and we had a fair number of people where this was their first experience with the game too.
Yeah, a lot of people just only experienced one because of this remake, which is like the entire like point of a good remake is to introduce your work to a new audience that might not be aware of it. And I think if nothing else, the remake has done such a good job at this. It's like, it's affordable, it's accessible, and it looks amazing. The production
That's what I really wanted to talk about, is the accessibility thing, because we have an official translation that we got as a simultaneous worldwide release, which is so rare for visual novels.
And it was well advertised too. Well,
yes, the marketing was so good.
More on next in parts.
Please take notes.
Yes. We have to mention that Nexton, they are a much smaller company than Key comparatively, but holy crap, they knew that they needed to get audiences to know that this game existed, and boy, they did delivered. Just that. Like, Nexton knew their mission, and they brought in slow trickle of information, but just enough to keep people wanting. And those like big drops of news were like some of the best nights of my life. Oh, so good.
Yeah, when we got the full website reveal, like you and I did a 2-hour episode on that, which is still up on the channel for YouTube onlys, and it is one of the most rewatched episodes of Key Radio Live.
It was a good episode because like
I think it was really cool.
There was a lot of material to theorize and be hyped about, and I think Key could really take some notes from that because God, sometimes it does not feel like they advertise their stuff well enough.
Especially in the West, yeah. So
especially in the West, holy crap. But yeah, Nexton, just gotta put that out there. Amazing job with the advertising. Amazing job with the whole production value. Itoru, all the colorists, everyone did such an amazing job with this. What a team. But now that all of that is done and we're here with the visual novel, we have to talk about the product. And the first thing we have to mention again is just the production value. Immediately such a big step up.
Yeah, now this is something we didn't actually know until the game actually released, but it's a huge deal. Mitsuna, shoutouts to Mitsuna, has been asking constantly throughout the hype up to the release, who are the colorists for this game? And when we finally got the answer, it's fucking Marmalade, which what? That was one of the biggest shocks because Marmalade is not the Nexton company. They are a competing developer.
They just helped out because
they outsourced their coloring to Marmalade, and also some of the best looking moege in the industry. If you're into moege, I definitely check out their games. Primal Hearts, Marshmallow All the Way Home, etc. Those guys, if you don't know the name.
Yeah, and I would say possibly the biggest reason that they might have wanted to help is because possibly maybe Marmalade's staff might have been Key fans as well, because as we've known through the one remake, a lot of people who worked on the project came to work on the project because they were also Key fans.
Yes.
Like Fauna, who did the opening, which, holy crap, amazing opening. That was
amazing opening.
One of the best first impressions you could get of in the game. The way it just comes in right after the opening monologue. It is such a stunning opening. It is visually, it's gorgeous. The music is perfect, and Fauna, you can tell these guys clearly love Key, and it's they talked about and revealed that the whole reason that they came to do this project is because they all love Key. The whole band came together because of their love of Key. So
didn't they start by covering something from Clannad? Do you know the story?
I don't know any specifics of detail. I just know that Fauna are Key fans. Their name, in fact, is a reference to Clannad.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. So these guys are huge Key fans, and they were ecstatic to work on the one remake to contribute to it. And from what I'm aware of, they weren't the only ones. I think the music designer or the music arranger, whoever worked on the music, they also worked on this.
Yeah, the team behind the game is it's one of those perfect one of those perfect storm kind of things where you have just the right people coming together to really make this thing. And Nexton was riding so much on Hinaway's Hinaway returns to not actually Key, but one of her old games that Key fans really enjoy, and they really worked that. Mocha, who we shouted out before, doing the backgrounds, and honestly, especially the outside ones, the one I'm particularly thinking of is the one of the main street, where we see the Moon Store and stuff. That one
so
in particular, I'm looking at things like the textures on the sidewalk, which in the original, there was no texture on the sidewalk. It's just so much more detailed, and especially when you see it at Christmas time. That is a brand new detailed background that they said it was Christmas decorated in the original, but we didn't really see it the way we do here. And like, it made for the perfect release window for this game, dropping on the 22nd of December. Like, it is one of the perfect Christmas VNs.
Yeah, like Mocha, for those who don't know, like they're one of, in my opinion, the best background artists in the entire industry. They do amazing work. If you ever check their Twitter, like they make some of the like most jaw-dropping illustrations.
In the visual novel world, Mocha is most known for the visual novel Relief, which I neither of us have read, but
it's untranslated. All of Mocha's works, as far as I remember, are untranslated,
except for this one.
Except for this one, yeah, and this one.
Yeah.
Great first impression, and I hope we get more in the future, because, oh my lord. Yeah, Mocha is amazing. I think this like the whole staff on this project, absolutely stacked. Amazing work.
Yeah.
It was just one of the most like powerful productions, and you could see that in every facet of like the immediate marketing, and just once you open up this visual novel, like there's so much that they were trying to do. I think the arguably the most like controversial aspect of the production would be the live 2D, which like weirdly enough you couldn't turn off. I didn't know why. I think it was because it was like hard to program both versions.
Yeah, like people seem pretty mixed on it. Personally, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty well done.
I thought I had to grow to it, but once I grew to it, I eventually got to accept it. I thought it was like way better than, say, White Albums. White Albums is a bit off in comparison. I think
the White Album 1, okay.
Yeah, White Album 1, yeah. They have really awkward live 2D, but I think this visual novel definitely did a solid job, and it really benefited characters like Mio. Oh my god, Mio, like, really benefited from this. Such a glow up. Like, the fact that we can actually see her actions visualized instead of just having them being told to us adds so much to just how expressive she is. And
right. And also other little things like during Akane's Yadasu, you actually see her head shake. Like Mio's nodding is another one. Like you actually get to see it happening. It's
a lot of like the smaller innocutions are like the biggest things that I feel like the live 2D brings and why they did it. I do think it would have been a better option to have it be optional, but I'm not mad with it. I think it's an acceptable thing that adds to this visual novel,
right?
And certain characters especially.
There is one other controversial thing I want to talk about, and this one I am on the negative side, and I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm.
The background characters are gone.
Yes, I would also agree with that. I think it is a huge missed opportunity, especially when the characters say that the cafeteria is filled, and there's no one there, and
it's awkward looking. Now, the thing is, like, visual novels in general have kind of been moving away from background characters. Like, that's just not as much of a thing anymore. So it is fitting for 2023 standards. I think in this particular case, it's just disappointing because the original game had background characters.
The original game had background characters, and it was such a waste opportunity to not include Manami with the gang. I feel like they could have done that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially since this is a weird thing, Manami got an official art recently, and it's like,
which is just unreal. It's like
Dosei got acknowledged.
This is like the deepest we've ever seen merch of at this point in like the history of Key. This is to explain for those who don't know. Before even 1, there was Moon, and before even Moon, there was Dosei. Now, Dosei was not written; it didn't have any writers from any Key staff. It was I think the only people who were like majorly on it was Hinoe Itaru, who did the art, and Orito Shinji, who did the music. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And that was it. That was the only No, Scott, there wasn't any Dosei reference. I was saying they could have added that in the remake. But, like...
Considering that it got acknowledged in some of the Comiket goods.
Yeah, so in Comiket, Nexton advertised one with like an anniversary thing with tactics. And we didn't just get, like, Ikumi back. Ikumi getting merch in modern day is crazy enough. But, like, they brought back the main heroine of Dosei, and nobody expected that. I was like, that was the
Weird.
most craziest, like, plot twist of 2023. And it just dropped at the end. Is that we... let me just post a picture for context. But, like, this character... Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Just is one that... barely anyone knows about. This is like if Ki-chan from the early days of Ki got merchandise. It is that
that's
level
a great
of crazy.
comparison.
It is just like how would you do
side
this?
note, I love all three of these dresses in this art. They're so pretty.
I think like with this colorist and like Hino Itru back, they just got a gold tier for character designs. Like they're just doing it perfectly. But yeah, especially after seeing like this kind of art, I do wish the background characters were kept, because God, it would have been nice seeing the gang again, like the Moon Gang, and maybe having like Manami. That would have been really nice. It is just like one of those wasted things, but maybe it was like cutting too much into the budget. I can't really say for sure.
I can't say for sure either. I would not be surprised if that was like one of the sacrifices they made. And honestly, if that happened, I do get it. It is probably my only thing about the remake that I could say it's a downgrade. Everything else is either the same or better for me.
I would agree with that, yeah. And speaking of the same, let's talk about this actual story now. The elephant in the room is that a lot of the people who are rereading the remake, one of the biggest questions were, hey, we are making a remake. Are they going to update the story to 2023 standards? And unfortunately, the answer was no.
No.
The script is basically untouched. And for a lot of people, this is like... It really depends on what perspective you take, because I get it, because... When all's said and done, yes, we got a huge new shiny staff back with Nexton in this, but both of the writers who worked on this game are no longer in contact with this company. Like, they're just not there.
Right.
So, what do you do in that case? Do you modify something technically without their permission, or do you just try to keep it as safe as you can? And I feel like going for accuracy to preserve the original vision, whatever it might have been, is probably the more safer option, even if it might not be the best in terms of results. Like, I
respect the decision.
Yeah. Hisaya is working on, I think, RPGs. I don't know about the details. I think
Hisaya recently was working on Cry Machina, so he is likely like still with that group.
Yeah, and he also finished like Crystar back in the day. So this guy is active, and he's making our JRPGs. And obviously, we all know that Maeda is deep within Heaven Burns Red and cannot be let out because he's just constantly pumping out content. So, they also said this in an interview that they just didn't have access to contacting the original writers. So unfortunately, they weren't able to get in contact with the original writers, and I feel like in that case, it's very understandable that they wouldn't want to make changes, because ultimately, they own the story on a technical sense, but they didn't make the story. And if I respect wanting to keep the creator's vision intact, if that's the case, like if you can't bring the original creator back, you might as well play it safe and just keep the original pieces intact, and you'll find that literally the only changes that are ever in the script are changes to make it PG like 12 or something, PG 13, not dirty.
Yeah, there are some slight changes to a certain scene in Akane route. There are some slight changes to a rerouting kind of thing in Nanase route to get rid of a bad end. In the 2 routes we are talking about today, the changes are there are no changes except just removing the age scenes.
All of the age scenes were replaced with furious hugging, which personally I
prefer it.
I am all for it. I very much adore hugging. I think hugging is a great alternative, and I think cuddles are a wonderful thing, especially with very, very beautiful, cute heroines.
Oh yeah.
And also, absolutely. As Ryan said, the content in the PS1 version, I don't know about all the details with that, but the console version of the original one was developed in tandem with another company, and there are theories that the reason we didn't get a lot of the console content is because of potential legal issues.
Well, I can answer a little bit more of this. It wasn't like developed in tandem like Key's console ports, for example. It was just straight up outsourced, which is why one's like later PC versions has a completely different voice cast from the PlayStation version. And the PlayStation version was developed by Kindle Imagine Develop, who is the developer behind Pepsi Man, which I just think is really funny.
I love that guy. Very funny guy.
Like, it's just a really random gag. You guys should have heard Manpig hysterically laughing when I told him that fact.
I love Pepsi Man. He's such a funny guy.
Yeah. So, like, and that company is no longer around, and they are now, I believe, owned by Mages, who is, like, very, how do I say this politically correct? They keep their rights close to their chest.
Yeah.
I don't think it was worth the legal trouble to try and get something from them. Nobody played that version anyway.
Few people did, like,
that's my theory.
Yeah, we had like a fucking. We had fun fact: the Nasu Kinoko from Type Moon. He actually likes the console version more, and he credits that as being really underrated because he likes the style, and that's why a lot of Type Moon works you'll see is in the NVL format. Is because of the whole novel aspect. He likes the visual novels being a literal visual novel. Right. And he credits one console version to giving him that vision. I don't really agree with that, but yeah, it had its appeal. But again, that's off topic.
I don't mind that it's in NVL. I just don't like how dark it is.
It is very dark. Yeah, it is very hard to see. But yeah, that's the main thing. And let's go back all around and let's talk about the story. So again, the story
let's talk about the game.
So, you wake up and you'll quickly find out that one is a slice of life for the most part. Like, it is very much an early bare bones keyword. You'll find the common route is literally just meeting girls and being a bit of a dick to them.
Yeah, this is like another like controversial aspect of Kohei.
Yeah.
He's kind of a bully.
Yeah, and okay, I will save a lot of what I want to talk about Kohei for the Nagamori route because that's where it's gonna get we're gonna get really deep into Kohei, but
yeah.
He is a very controversial protagonist, and I can very easily see why. He is probably the part of the game that has by far aged the worst. And the reason is something you'll also find with a lot of the rest of, how do I say it? What Maeda wanted to do with this game is that he wanted to make an accurate depiction of something, but something that's accurate isn't necessarily something that's, enjoyable to read.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is something he got a lot better with balancing and, perfected with Air, Clannad, and Little Busters.
Yep.
But especially with Canon and 1, you can see that while Maeda understood how people worked, he was still trying to get a balance between having a realistic depiction of people with struggles, whether it be mental or physical, or and combining that with an actual story that people might want to read and enjoy. However, because of one thing I will say is that at least in the common route, and this is something that not everyone agrees with me, I think Kohei is hilarious. In the same way someone might find Kotaro in Rewrite funny, as long as he doesn't cross the line, some of his jokes are legit funny. It depends on what joke, though. Like, for instance, him pulling Nanase's hair, that's not really that funny.
I didn't like that.
I don't think most people didn't. Some people enjoy that kind of comedy, and especially in like the 90s, that was far more like that was something that you just saw more often.
Yeah.
But it is something that, again, has not aged well because the script is untouched. But I find like a lot of other jokes, especially mainly Kohei's banter with Nagamori, that I actually found myself laughing a lot at most of them. Like, I wouldn't say this is the funniest key work to read. Not even like not top 5, but I definitely had a lot of chuckles in the corner. I was like, this dude is a bloody idiot. It's like watching a slapstick. It's like everyone is stupid, and you're just here to like watch how bad the situations escalate for the sake of it.
Some of the slapstick is pretty good. I'll let you finish, and then I have one specific scene I want to highlight.
Is it the one that I always highlight?
Probably not.
Okay, because my favorite scene, and I always mention this every time I talk about the one call route, is the scene where Kohei just decides to sleep in a closet for shits and giggles. Why would you do
that's
that?
Not the one I was talking about, but that is also. Really
I always think about that. I'm like, why would you do this? What compels you to do this just for the sake of it? And the reaction you get from it is absolutely hysterical. I always think back on that, just like, this dude is so dumb, but something about it is just like incredibly funny to watch. And I just can't get enough of that kind of stuff.
I enjoyed that one. The one I was going to highlight is actually like, it's not Kohei who's being funny. It is a little bit, but like when he realizes that Mio can't speak, he's like, say ah, and then say e, and then name all the 50 American states. And it's like, what?
Yeah, this dude is just an idiot, and like that is basically the source of most of like one's humor. And because of that, a lot of people don't vibe with Kohei, and I do not blame them for that. It's like, again, I feel like Maeda really liked writing asshole protagonists, and then the first time he changed that was with Little Busters, when you think about it.
I could kind of make the argument that Yukito is not an asshole. He was just hungry.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I think like he is like probably the least. He's the least like. How do we word this? He's the least. No, he's definitely not responsible in any way. I don't know. I think I just don't agree. Like
that's understandable. Like, we can get deeper into that with Air Bookclub, but like, it's not a great argument.
Here's my stance: is that Yukito, out of the bunch, out of the like the early key protagonists, I think his more like asshole natures has the least results. Like when things get serious, he gets serious, and there's never a moment where I feel like, whoa, you shouldn't be acting this way at this moment. Like Yukito never like has a moment where when things need to be done, he isn't just acting like an idiot. Yeah, and Gown, you're not going to be alone. There was a lot of people who don't vibe with him, and that's totally fair. But Maeda,
he has some funny moments, but for the most part, I was just like kind of annoyed with him.
Yeah, and this is again something I feel like is a trend with a lot of my early Maeda protagonists. That this guy really likes writing protagonists that are just like a jerk to certain people. Mm-hmm. Like, and I feel like this really shows in Kohei, who is probably the worst example of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I feel like it's not like debatable that Tomoyo is just like Kohei's concept, but way better. Like, Tomoya is basically, I feel like if you're gonna write an actual protagonist, trying to be like Tomoya, but at the same time, it also depends on the route. Because, like, you have some Tomoya who is really good, like in Nagisa route and Kotomi's route, where he's basically perfect. But then you also have him in,
Everywhere else?
I wouldn't say everywhere else.
No, you were talking about Tomoyo.
Tomoyo route, that's her name, yeah. Tomoya and Tomoyo route is... Not sure if punching people is the best idea for
in chat says, I see Kohei as a product of the times, that is honestly the best way to describe him. Like, this kind of stuff was just more accepted in the 90s. Nanase being his punching bag was just more accepted back then, and one of the biggest improvements for me on not so much the remake being a remake, but just a second read of this story is I very much liked Nanase a lot more this time, and I can't wait to talk about her route next week.
You're not alone. In fact, Nanase rose a lot in popularity with the remake. She was like
part of it is literally that in a way made her really hot.
She did, and it is also because
it helps.
Hinoe has outwardly stated that Nanase is her favorite one heroine.
Yes.
Like that's her daughter. So because of that, she got a lot of promotion, and a lot of people also began to like Nanase a lot more upon going back to the story, and her popularity rose a lot. I'm not just talking about here. I'm even talking about the JP community, because I'm in touch with a few JP friends, and one of my closest Japanese friends is a huge One fan. Mio is his best. Mio has been his best girl for over 20 years at this point. That's how much of a One fan he's been.
That's incredible.
So because of that, we've also been talking about a few things, and he has also mentioned that Nanase has seen a huge influx of fans.
Spiral got a lot of fans. Spiral in chat says Nanase was always good, but no one realized it until she was hot, and it's kind of true. It's funny, but it's true.
Nanase basically gets the short end of the stick in terms of the common route, because I feel like her gags are the hardest to read.
Well, because she's kind of a punching bag,
she's just trying to live a normal life.
Right, between Kohei and Mayu, just being really annoying to her a lot when she's just trying to like you said, she's trying to live a normal life, after already
Nanase is not the Sunohara of one, because Sunohara gets into problems because of his own volition.
Yeah, Sunohara, it's his own fault. He deserves to get locked in the bathroom stall with a stick put through it. Nanase does not deserve it.
Nanase is just trying to live a normal life, and everyone's after her. We'll talk about more of that in her route, but oh god, this poor girl needs a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, in comparison, I think Nagamori's segments, I love her in the common route. I actually think I like her more in the common route than in her actual route.
I do too. She's and one big improvement with, I'm just gonna say it, and I was waiting for the moment where I can say it, but I think it's an improvement with all the characters, but it applies to Nagamori here. The new seiyus are amazing.
They are really good, and this is something
Nagamori feels like so much less of a pushover now. She feeds Kohei's bullshit back to him, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, so that is another big thing about the voice actors, that the Nextion's the CEO has outright stated that they obviously couldn't get back the original cast because 20 years has passed. A lot of these people have moved on to different things, and
four of the 6 are not even in the industry anymore, and the other 2 probably don't sound the same.
Exactly, and they don't sound the same. So obviously, when you do that, you have to hire a new cast. And when they were hiring voice actors, they specifically say they didn't want to just get the original voice actors back, because if they were gonna rehaul the whole cast, they wanted to instead get voice actors that represented a more accurate version of what they have imagined in their head for these characters. Like, they want to reimagine these characters to be better than their original versions, and I personally think they succeeded, and it really shows, especially in Nagamori.
Akane was the big one for me, but like regardless, like if Hinoue Itoru's art is like the quote #1 biggest improvement to the game in the remake, only a tiny little eyelash below that is the new voice cast. Like, I think the new voice cast really just sold me on these heroines so much more.
Yeah. And this is one thing I will say that the new voice actor for Nagamori has done an amazing job with the characters. That one thing that a lot of people overlook about Nagamori is that she's basically an older sister character. It's just her original voice actor sounds so young that no one really sees her that way.
I didn't really like put her into that archetype until this most recent reread.
Yeah, and they've also like they've not only like, it's not only like evident in the actual story, but in the advertising as well. Nagamori is a person who looks after people. When people like Mio was doing her exams, she was offering to help out with her. Like, Nagamori is the person who looks after everyone in the cast, which is again something we'll talk about later in her own route, because oh boy, does that get stretched to its absolute limit.
Down in chat says like see Mayu, and it's true. Like, she definitely has a big Onesan type role in that route. Yeah,
and that's always been part of her. It's just not a lot of people took her that way because her voice was very youthful. But in this new remake, she sounds properly like a more mature person, and she's basically keeping everyone's shit together, especially Kohei. Because, oh my god, that guy would not function without her.
Yeah, he's kind of a hot mess.
Oh boy, yeah. But yeah, first two heroines, Nanase and Nagamori. Next is Misaki, I think? No, Akane.
Are we? I don't know what order you're going in.
I was just talking. I was just trying to talk about the heroines in terms of like when we first meet them, like in terms of like first impression.
Okay.
Because we're talking about common route.
Yeah. In which case, yes, Akane would be
next.
Yes,
Akane. So sadly, I won't be able to talk about too much about Akane because
Akane does not like have a lot of required seeds in common. She's pretty easy to avoid. And I don't know about you, but like I avoided her until I was going for her route.
Yeah, and a lot of people do that, especially when you eventually when after like people recommend you save Akane for last. A lot of people have been doing that.
This is the Keyverse recommendation, by the way.
Yeah, Akane is definitely the route you complete last because it has the biggest impact, I feel. Right. And I feel like on first impression, all you really get to know about her is that she's a kudere, and she's very quiet, and she keeps to herself. And while that is true, we'll eventually get deeper into her once we meet her. But in terms of common route, she likes eating lunch outside.
Yeah, she's another one. Tachibana Hina is Akane's new seiyuu, and like she is like the hero of the remake for me. And I can't wait to talk more about her.
God, I will agree that Akane and Nagamori got really like vocal justice. Jesus Christ, they did amazing work. But yeah, after that, then we got Misaki, who has like one of the best first impressions I've ever had with any like heroine in general, I feel.
Yes. Misaki is like, she's kind of the fan favorite right now in Keyverse.
Yeah.
Which, like, honestly, yeah, I can see it. She was my favorite until Akane, like, just barely edged her out in the remake. But, you know, like, Misaki's amazing.
Yeah. Basically, like, the elephant in the room is we'll talk about this later, is that she is a blind heroine, which is always nice to get some representation, but the story never focuses on that. Like, this is something I feel like one does well, is that the way this story treats Misaki is very respectful and that doesn't belittle her or like bring a highlight to her disability. She's just a normal girl. And even Kohei, who, as much of a dick as he can be, once he it clicks with him, he's like, oh yeah, Misaki is just a normal girl, so let me just treat her the normal way.
Yeah, and she does that. I've always just been me. That's one of my favorite lines of hers.
Yeah, so, like, even then, once Kohei meets her, he's still playful around her. It's not like he's not like suddenly super respectful. He's still Kohei. He's still an idiot. Like this dude's still gonna race Akane upstairs, or not race Akane, race Misaki upstairs. Because why not? This dude's he's just having fun with life.
Yeah, like the extra respect he has for Misaki comes from kind of two things. One, Hisaya just wrote him to be nicer, and two, she is a year older than him. So it's just the normal, like, extra little bit of respect you have for your senpai.
Yeah. And actually, no, do we meet Mayu at this point? Because I don't remember when we meet Mayu.
No, Mayu is completely avoidable, so we can honestly kind of hold off on talking about her.
Alright, fair enough.
Just go into Mio, because Mio you have to meet. You meet her very late in the comic.
Yeah, like, basically near the end. Like, you get, like, 2 scenes before...
Right,
like,
which is part of why her route feels so freaking short, is because like she barely has any common route scenes. So once you meet her like twice, you are basically on her route. Her route isn't significantly shorter than any of the others. It's just if you don't read her route first, which I didn't, I don't know if you did. But if you don't read it first, you will just be doing a lot of skipping for the beginning.
Yeah. I read Nagamori first, so...
I read Misaki first, and then I did Mio second.
So, Mio doesn't get a lot of content immediately, but I do think her route is probably one of the better ones to... as Keyverse recommends, the best one to start with, because... it is a good baseline for what you can expect from one.
Scout says Nanase in the common route is Makoto, but she doesn't do anything wrong. That's, I definitely can second that. Ryan says, isn't this the 5th cast since PC, PS1, OVA, True Stories, and Remake? Yes, that is true. Although not in that order, but yes, basically. Scout says, I genuinely think Nagamori's original VA is what made me dislike her and Kohei's dynamic so much more. Originally, I do second that. Scout also says most of Akane is optional, but she still manages to have a lot of presence with the common route no matter what. Yes, like, there's an air of intrigue to Akane, which I do really, really, really appreciate. And, like, if you're following the Keyverse recommended order and reading her last, it gives enough of, like, okay, what's this heroine's deal? Why is she the closest thing we have to a true route in this game? Cold says deserved. I'm assuming that's a reference to when I said Misaki is kind of the fan favorite. Yes, absolutely deserved. Scout says Mio gets 4 unavoidable scenes to my memory. Yeah, I kind of put 2 of them together because you get the one where she actually takes his jacket, and then the one where she returns it, which I kind of put together in my memory. Okay, Manpig has returned. Speaking of Mio, we gotta talk about one new thing. Mio has a Seiyu now, who is here just to make lolly noises. How do you feel about this change?
I don't have any strong opinions on it. My main thing that I've mentioned, or that, like, I've noticed, is that the text says not a single sound comes from her mouth. And I'm like, that doesn't apply anymore. It's not true anymore, which is weird. And it's like, I don't have anything against Mio not being like 100% mute. Like, it does make sense. Some people have muteness in that they can't verbalize their words, but it's a bit weird when the original text specifically says Mio doesn't make any noise.
Now, is that the original text or is that the translation?
That I cannot confirm. I will admit
me neither.
That.
I'm not entirely sure. To like briefly mention the translation, it is a lot more flowy than the original, and gets some criticism for being too like not accurate to the original text.
Yes,
but it is still accurate to the original flavor.
Yeah. The issue seems to be that the original translation was too stiff, and the new one is too liberal.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
The removing honorifics really didn't work, especially with a certain joke with Misaki. That just didn't really land right.
Yeah, I'm generally not a fan of removing honorifics. Some people like it. I'm not one of them.
Yeah. I think Utori's thinking of making like a patch that might like bridge the two translations that makes it more like it has the best of both worlds. I've heard.
Right.
But that's essentially the deal, is that the original translation is like really, really stiff. It's sort of like the original Summer Pockets translation, that it works. If you want a translation, it's there, but you're not going to get much detail or personality out of it. And this one, it has more flair, but sometimes it goes way too far with that.
Yeah.
Like, I can remember one or two lines where the characters and like the text and what the characters say are just do not match.
Yeah, I noticed that a couple of times as well.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of that, but
and honestly, it was at its worst in Misaki's route.
Yeah. I mean, localization and translation are like that's a whole can of worms. But
yeah, we don't need to get too deep into it. Regardless, like it's just I thought it was worth mentioning that the whole Mio thing, that particular line, I don't know if it's a translation thing or if it's the original text. I am exactly in the same boat as you. I'm neutral to the Seiyu thing. At first, I was kind of against it, but when I actually saw how it was implemented, I think it was implemented pretty well. Her Seiyu did a good job at like getting the mood of her ideas across. And another thing with Mio that I absolutely loved is that like you can actually see the writing on her sketchbook now.
Yes, it actually appears, which is like, oh, it's so cute. And another thing that I think adds to like the her having like a sound now is the live 2D.
Yes, absolutely.
When she nods and she goes, that's like the most adorable thing I've ever seen on the planet.
It is really cute.
It is actually just like having a pet dog. It's just so cute. I want to hug her.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's the common route. Aside from that, like that's basically what it is. It's like you meet the heroines, you play pranks on them, you act like an idiot, and the bad end is. Do we need to talk about the bad end, or should we say that for Nagamori route?
I actually want to save the bad end for partially Nagamori, but mostly on the last episode because we don't really understand the implications of it. Without really understanding the Eternal World. So, like, this episode, like, the Eternal World will come up, but we're not going to get too deep into it right now, because for the majority of the game, you don't really know what's happening with it. So, which I think is really cool. It's like, it gives people some room to theory craft, which we saw, like, Gown in particular during his read-through. He was doing some theory crafting about the Eternal World. I think Kushikimi was as well, who's not here today. But it's like, it's just something people do with this game, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and this is something that I did want to mention, is that the common route of this game is basically just a normal Galgekon route. It's like, there's not really anything particularly special about it, with the exception of the rare times where Kohei seems to have visions for the Eternal World, where a strange ethereal music plays with text on the screen where Kohei is talking to someone in front of a real life background, which is so trippy, and I love that. That is the biggest like mood setter of once, those moments where Kohei feels a bit weird and then he gets those visions. It's like
I love the way this was presented in the remake. Instead of just using a normal text box, they actually, like, in the Japanese, it uses vertical text, and they kept that in the translated version and just gave us the translation of it right below it, but it's dynamic text. So it actually, like, each line appears in a different place on the screen, keeping your eyes jumping around a little bit. But the scenes are so short that it's not like jarring where you're doing it for the entire game. It's just different enough where, like, it leaves you with this kind of, like you said, a trippy feeling. It was so well done.
It's such a good vibe, and I love the remake for that. It's like, everything visual about this remake, I'm like, yes, go Slay! And this is like one of the best examples, especially, like, I'm so glad they kept the real life backgrounds. Like, that was something I wasn't sure if they would kept, but they did. And apparently, like, some people have mentioned, is that they did not just take the original, at least as far as we can tell. These are new pictures, which is so appreciated.
They are completely new.
Which makes me wonder if they went to the same locations and retook them for this remake. And I'm like,
that I don't know. I
don't think we have a
side by side.
We don't have a clear answer for that, but like I love what they did with this remake. Like, they tried their damn hardest to capture the vibe of the original, and they pulled it off better than anyone could have done it. It's like flawless job, amazing job, great work.
I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
The other thing, kind of Common Route related, that I want to bring up here is this version, the remake, has implemented a hint system.
Yes. Okay.
The original one is known for having a brutally difficult choice system. The flags are not hard to read. There are some choices where it doesn't seem like the thing would matter, but it actually does. And like, leaving how the choices are implemented in Nagamori's route aside right now, because we'll talk about that next week, I love the hint system. I love that it's here, and I love that it's optional.
I am not as positive, and it's for one reason, is that the hint system is on by default. I don't think it should be on by default. I think it should be an option that players go to if they really need it, but it shouldn't be on by default.
Interesting.
And it's mainly due to Nagamori route.
Yeah, what I would have preferred, I think the best of both worlds situation here is, like, the way they implement the hint system in the remake. Oh my god, I'm gonna praise the remake. Stop the world.
Victoria's gonna kill you.
I know, right? But what they do is, the first time you launch the game, it asks you, do you want the hint system on or off?
Yeah, similar to what Gowan's saying, actually, right now.
Yeah, exactly. Gown says it should give you a choice at the beginning, and I think that would have been the best way to do it. Off by default, I don't know if I would have liked, because then some players who are not used to old VNs wouldn't know it exists. Yeah, that's fair. It's just getting the bad ending and like struggling is part of the experience with some of these routes, and like, you can tell that was part of the experience. Like, you get that, like, you understand the context so that later scenes makes more sense. Yeah.
But we'll get to that when we get to that. Again, Nagamori's route is a huge can of worms. Oh my god, that's gonna be like an hour discussion.
Yeah. These episodes will be long, but hey, that's one, baby.
That is one. Alright, so I think we've covered basically everything about the common route and the general production of the overall visual novel. Like, production value is perfect. The common route is basically the same.
I'm satisfied.
Yeah. All right, so with that finally done, it's time to actually get into the big meat of visual novels and all Galgame in general, the heroine routes, and we're starting off with Mio and Misaki. So let's first talk about Mio, who Keyverse recommends as your first route, and I do agree with this.
Yes.
And it's mainly due to two reasons. One of them, Mio is very precious, and she's adorable, and she's probably the most universally liked heroine, like, by everyone. I don't think I know a single person that actively dislikes Mio.
No, the biggest critique I hear about Mio is that, like, she just doesn't do very much. Like, she's just kind of there, but, like, there's not...
Viral, bruh.
Yeah, there's not gonna people who, like, it's rare to actively just dislike her, you know?
Yeah, no, I feel like Mio...
some of the other heroines that we'll be talking about next week.
Yeah, other... Oh, boy. Yep. But I feel like Mio is, like, one of the more, like, just generally likable heroines, and she's, like... Because of that, she is a very solid first route, because a lot of people will be interested in her story, as opposed to, say, Nanase, who I feel like does not give a very good first impression, not because of Nanase herself, but, like...
In my read of the original, I did Nanase first, and it was not a good decision.
It is hard. It is hard, but yeah. And another reason Mio works best first is because out of all the routes, her route is, like, by far the safest and the one that shows the appeal of one the quickest. Like, if you want to understand why people why they like one, and the type of, like, stories that we like about it, that's the route I would give, because it's good, but it doesn't reach any of the peaks of, like, the best routes of one.
Right. It tempers your expectations while still giving an accurate impression of what the game is like.
Yeah, I would say that's the case.
Yeah.
Like, Mio is, like, just one of, as I said in the common route, she's just so huggable and lovable. Like, she is so precious, and I feel like one of the best things about her is, like, her disability might not be as highlighted as in other routes, but you can definitely see that despite it, she's trying her absolute best to be, like, to express herself, and she has dreams, and it's so hard to not root for her. She's doing her best. Like,
let's just, like, talk about if you can even call it that, the conflict of this route. Mio is in the drama club, which is just really cool. Like, it's like, oh, I wouldn't have expected that, but I'm all for it. And, like, speaking of just Mio being precious, one of my favorite little scenes that I want to highlight from this route is, like, Kohei and Mio are going out to, like, pick up her costume for the play, which is very pretty, by the way. And, like, they decide, okay, we're gonna go get some food after. Kohei asks her, what do you want? She writes on her little sketch pad, sushi, and he's like, okay, let's go home. Sushi is very expensive.
Yes. Oh my. Okay. So those who haven't been to Asia, you might think, oh, isn't sushi a bit cheaper in Japan? No, it is not. Lord, it is one of the most expensive things you can ask for in like Japan, like Hong Kong, wherever. So, like, you might think Kohei's being a bit rude, but it's like Mio going, I want a 5-star buffet. I want to eat like an absolute queen tonight. So it's like, you have to remember, these are high schoolers. If a high schooler
She's saying it as a half joke, but to be fair, his response is also kind of a half joke too. Like, the banter feels like...
It's not, like, actively malicious like Kohei is to say Nanase.
It's
like,
not a power imbalance.
Yeah, it's genuinely something that I feel like I would do to my friends. Like, I'm not giving you sushi. Screw that.
Yeah, I would too.
It's really expensive. You have no idea. Even with the yen being low, sushi is so expensive. Oh my god! I went out to sushi like for like one night with my friend in Hong Kong. It was like, we ate more money than we did the past like 2 days in that one meal. It was that bad. It is so expensive. That depends entirely on what type of sushi. You're talking about convenience store sushi, then yes, but that's not real sushi.
Gout says, I do not believe Mio's love for sushi is ever a joke. And while that's probably true, I don't think she actually expected Kohei to deliver sushi for her.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But yeah, so as a result, we said we get Mio eating ice cream, and that was also like, one of the best CGs ever. Can I just say that Mio got like the best treatment from like a CG standpoint? They're all perfect.
Oh yeah, like my favorite
so
of hers is actually the one at the end of the route, with the drama club performance of her in the dress.
I think I just love them all. I think Mio got like the best. Mio absolutely got the best like treatment in terms of like her CGs. They're all high quality. They're all beautifully colored, and they all look so good.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I want to head pat her. Like the scene where Kohei helps her like go back into the school to get her book is like some of the most like adorable things I've seen in my life. That CG is so cute.
When she's like, "I'm scared," like.
Yeah, she's terrified. Was like, "Oh, baby."
Yeah. Another one, which you can actually miss, I found out. But I went for it, and it's like when you're trying to help her practice her parts in the drama club, and you can you have a choice to select the location, and the choice has no bearing on the route, but I just picked practice in the courtyard because I wanted to look at the courtyard BG, honestly. That was why I picked it. And she kept like saying it's too cold and wanted to go inside. And they do eventually go inside, but adorable.
I actually don't remember if I got that CG. I should probably check that.
It's not a CG. It's just a scene.
Okay,
where
gotcha.
like a cute little scene, cause like it's optional, you know.
Right.
Because
you
have to pick where you're gonna practice with her.
I'm just scrolling through a few of the Mio CGs, and God, this game looks so good. But yeah. I feel like my favorite would be like the CGs where, again, you had Mio in the out, like grabbing your arm. That one was adorable. But another one I really liked was the fountain one.
Yes. Oh, the lighting in that one.
Yeah, that gown. That is so adorable. I want to squish her. She's so adorable. But yeah, Mio, her disability is more of. It's not of a point of conflict in her route. As we said, the main conflict is that she's in the drama club and she's trying her best to, like, make a drama piece that people will remember. Yeah. And like it is a very simple kind of story, but I feel like it highlights the type of character that Mio is, that she's a hardworking person. She wants to express herself and she has dreams, and it's like Kohei's whole story is him learning about that, going into her life and helping her achieve them. He literally joins the drama club because of her.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, like, her reaction to him being in the drama club is like the most adorable thing ever. It's like, oh, she's so happy.
I don't remember that. What did she say? I
forgot. Well, I don't remember this 100% clear, but I think she she tackles you from her back, and you're just like, and Kohei's surprised, and then she's like, "We're gonna together, yay!" And I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, she's legitimately just very happy in general.
She's so wholesome.
Such a sweetie. I'm just kind of like scrolling back through my playthrough, and it's funny, we were talking about the sushi thing, and like I'm looking at an image where Mio says I'm hungry in her sketchbook, and my comment was, I'll buy you food and it won't make a hole in my wallet like feeding Misaki, and as it turns out that might not be true.
No.
Because Misaki eats a lot, but Mio likes expensive food.
Misaki likes 8 plates of curry. Mio likes sushi, which is equivalent to 8 plates of curry.
Plates of curry in terms of price, which I just think is really funny.
Wallet. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very adorable.
And how she wants him to sing something to help her keep her from being too scared while in the school.
It is actually some of the most cutest thing ever.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, one thing I also did appreciate is that in Mio Route, Yukimi is a very major supporting side character, which is like, thank God. I love Yukimi. She's absolutely adorable, and
She also got a pretty big glow up in this remake.
She got one of the biggest glow ups in the remakes. Like, she got I think she got her name's Yui, right? No. Yuri. Yeah, she got Yuri's voice actor, and also her design is stunning. It is so good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like Yukimi doesn't do much. She mainly just appears as Misaki's friend. But in this route, we actually, since we get to join the drama club, we have to
she is the president.
Her. Yeah, she's a president, and we get to meet her, and we get to spend more time with her, and as well, we get to see how she and Mio interact, and also how Misaki is there too, because she's Yukimi's friend. She's gonna be there occasionally,
and that's basically being gaslit into helping.
Yeah. Now, this is only applicable to my read, because on my very first read, I read in specific order. I read Misaki, Mio, and then Akane. And something I found really, really fitting is how each of the heroines from my last route appeared in the next route that I read. So since I had read Misaki's before Mio's, I felt like, oh, Misaki's still there. She's still having scenes, and I really appreciate that.
Did this really well with his 3 heroines, where you'll randomly get some scenes with the other heroines just to kind of show that they're still part of the school community, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, and I really like that.
All right, can we get into the one plot thing for this route? Because this route's plot is very, very simple, but there is one plot thing that I think is worth talking about, which is that Mio is one of the first ever forgotten childhood friends, and she has a very specific sketchbook, which she's very, very attached to. And it is one that Kohei had given her, and it is revealed that Kohei is the reason she uses a sketchbook to communicate. I'll be real, I don't have any emotional attachment to this plot.
Yeah.
It's sweet. It doesn't hit the highs I think Hisaya intended for it to.
Right.
I don't know if that's just me.
I don't think it was necessarily a major thing. I also agree it didn't have the impact of later reveals, but that's the thing, is that this is clearly a prototype route that Maeda was or not Maeda, he wanted to try again, and they have in canon and other stories. You will find a lot of childhood friends that have this kind of story, and I honestly feel like Maeda is more better at this kind of thing from my experience. But my favorite example, and I don't want to give this one away, but is one in Clanad. I feel like that execution is perfect, and ironically,
I think the IU execution is better personally, but I do get that argument.
IU's also good. IU's also really good, I will say.
And I think IU kind of just really improved a lot on some of the things that Hisaya set the stage with for Mio. My theory is that one thing worth noting here, the original one had a development cycle of only 6 months. He might have just run out of time and didn't have the time to really develop this story.
Yeah.
It's a sweet little thing that didn't hit the highs that it could have.
Yeah, that's another thing we should have mentioned from the beginning, is that they had the original one, not this remake. The remake had plenty of production to go through. The original one was rushed out. They made that fast because they needed
for
products.
Context, Moon came out in November of 1997, and 1 came out in June of 98. So they had, 7 months between the two releases.
I wouldn't say that's necessarily indicative of how long they've been working on it, but we can safely say it was less than a year at most.
No, we know that one's development didn't start until Moon was done.
Okay, so we have confirmation from an interview.
Yeah, that was confirmed in an interview. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, Maeda and Hisaya hadn't been planning before, because they might have, but, like, actual real development on the game started after Moon was complete.
Okay, gotcha. Wow. All right. That is amazing.
Yeah.
How the heck do you make a game in 6 months?
Well, Hisaya did it by unplugging his phone. So, oh no, that was in canon. He did that, but but that game was also made very quickly. So,
yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah. So that might be a pretty big reason as to why a lot of like Mio got the short end of the stick, but ultimately I feel like it's still a solid route and really likable.
Yeah.
And like, even if the main like twist doesn't have the conflict, I still think Mio's character is like makes up for that. Mio's so hard to dislike, and also like such an interesting like depiction of a character. You rarely see a character that doesn't talk to you back. Like mute characters are. I think we only have another one in visual novels as far as I know, and it's like one from Never 7. There probably are more examples, but none that I'm aware of.
I don't think there's a mute character. There's not a mute character in Never 7. Kukuri from 11
Yeah,
Eyes.
that was the one I was trying to say. I don't remember which one. Was it?
Yeah, 11 Eyes is a Chuni game.
That was the one. That was the one.
In 2008. It's an okay VN if you're into that, but it does have a mute heroine, and she is the best part of the game. So, yeah, I recommend it. Random shout-outs to 11 Eyes on this episode. I was not expecting that, but...
I mean, we have mute heroines, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mio is a very good depiction of a mute character. I don't think that... While her backstory isn't very relevant to her disability, I think her expressiveness and the type of, like, thing that she brings awareness to is very important, and... Oh my god, it's so hard not to root for her. That's like the big thing with her, is that she's trying her best. How do you dislike her? She's just
like
trying
you
her
have
dang
a mute
best.
character in the drama club. Like that alone, I think had more emotional impact on me than the childhood friend thing.
Yeah.
Because it's just like you want to root for the underdog, and the like actual shout outs to Yukimi here, writing a specific part for her which is something that is both challenging for her that she can work toward, but also something attainable. Like Yukimi does this so tastefully, and I loved it.
Yeah, and I really like the whole like execution of like trying to get her to work with the drama club and trying to get her to reach her dreams and her goals. I was like, oh yes, this is like the entire thing about one, and what makes one for me is all of the heroines, and Mio is such a good example of that. And then we get to the conflict where Kohei's disappearing from memories. What?
Yep.
And we won't talk too much about this, but that is an elephant in the room that has to be mentioned with one's roots, is that by the end of the Mio route, and as you'll soon find out, hopefully by Misaki, is that this is something that will happen in multiple routes. Is that Kohei is disappearing from the memories of others.
Yes, and I actually think Mio route sets this one up really, really well, if not the best.
I would agree with that. Yeah, and that's another reason why Mio.
Maybe Misaki, but no, Mio more, I think.
I would say Mio is just the best at it. And that's another reason I would say Mio is the best route to begin with.
Yeah. The one scene that I'm thinking of here is the one where, like, by the time the drama club show actually happens, there are two amazing things about it. Kohei's like, I just want to last in the world long enough to see her perform, which is just like, that got me emotional. I loved that so much. And the other one is that he offers to help, but none of the other drama club members remember him. They just think like, oh, here's someone here who just legitimately wants to help out. And they let him like do setup and stuff, and then he sits in the audience and he gets to see Mio perform.
Yeah.
It's a really good scene. I'm a sucker for drama club plots. Shoutouts to Sonohi no Kemo no Niwa. So
I'll read that one day. But yeah, I really like the way it just happens, like, because it happens fast. You'll notice, but like the way it takes off is just the fact that the drama club, the cast that Kohei supposedly has been working with for like the past 2 days or like few weeks, and they just suddenly just stop remembering him. It's like, oh, this dude is disappearing. Excuse me, and we won't get any clear answers with the Mio route. Yeah, Misaki also handles it amazingly, as Lucy said, but I think Mio is the best introduction to this.
Did you read what Scout said? If not, I'm going to.
No, yeah, but...
Okay. When Kohei's awareness of it all starts is one thing that's making me confused, even on a reread. He talks about the time he has left a lot earlier on Mio's route than others.
Yes. And I feel like that's like really important context to like all of one.
Yes. Now, how does Kohei's awareness of it start? I think like this is kind of just like unsaid but pretty well shown is when Yukiko stops remembering him.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I always interpreted it, at least. Yukiko is his aunt, by the way. She also doesn't talk, but not for the same reason.
She barely exists. Like, she doesn't have a sprite, she doesn't talk, she's just there. She's mentioned, but has no dialogue.
Yeah, she doesn't have any scenes.
Yeah. But yeah, when we get like a slow trickle of reveal that Kohei is just disappearing from the memories of people, and he is implying that he's gonna go somewhere after that. He's disappearing quite literally from the world, and he just wants to stay to see Mio's performance, and that's like the whole thing that hinges him on the conflict of the route, is that he wants to see Mio's performance before it's too late, and that he won't, and after he disappears for good.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing, and just one thing I really like is that even though Kohei doesn't know that Mio remembers him, because like that's the big twist, is that Mio still remembers him in spite of all of that, Kohei still like does all the things he can for her and supports her despite thinking she doesn't remember that. He doesn't just give up on her. Like, he doesn't just go, oh, my life is pointless. He goes, I'm gonna do everything I can for this person that I really care for before it's too late. And once I go, I can go with no regrets.
Yeah, and I think that actually like really kind of shows his development, because like one thing we'll talk about throughout the time here is like probably not so much today, but over the next 2 weeks, like what the Eternal World may represent, and like how Kohei feels, like what's the point of any of this, and like he kind of figures that out throughout the routes, where like he actually has a goal, and Mio route is like very clearly showing what is the goal. He wants to see her perform in the drama club. He wants to see the results of what she had been working so hard for.
And it's so wholesome and so heartwarming.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to see Kohei genuinely trying his best to help someone for once.
Yeah, like this is what I mean, like in that it's development. Like I understand the issues with Kohei. I have a lot of issues with Kohei, but one issue that I do hear sometimes that I don't really agree with is that he doesn't change, and I don't think that's true. I think
it depends on the route, or not really.
I don't even think that. I think he does change in every route. It's just in some it's more obvious than others, and in this one it's
fair enough.
Obvious.
Yeah, I agree.
The only one where I can say he doesn't change is Shun's route, and that one is like different anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as we all learn, Mio still remembers Kohei, and she still cares about him. She wasn't able to say that to him before because actually now that I'm remembering this, I need to mention this, is that we get one singular like visual sign that Mio actually remembers Kohei, is that when Kohei delivers her book back to her, she smiles at him. And it's like, that's not the kind of smile you would give a stranger. And it's like, it's never told to us because, again, Mio doesn't know. She cannot physically tell Kohei, I still remember you, come back. But she smiles at him as if like he were someone precious to him. And I think that is a really good like way of visually telling that Mio still has her memories of Kohei. And while Kohei didn't see it, I did, and I was like, oh, that's so good. That's such a good detail.
I missed it too, but like hearing you talk about it and thinking it back, yeah.
It's so good. It's like, it's just one of those things that like, it just adds so much once you notice. But like Mio, she cannot talk, but she can show her feelings in other ways, and you just have to be perceptive with characters like Mio. And I feel like that's a great example of, when it comes to Mio, you have to see her actions because that's the only way she expresses herself.
Right.
It's so good. And it's like that whole ending where Kohei realizes that Mio still cares for him, and that like her memories with him are so strong that they have triumph against this like bizarre thing that's happened to him. And they hug so hard, and they hug very passionately, and I love hugs. I love hugging. Hugging is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank God for hugs.
We know what you're trying to say, Manpig.
I love hugs.
we all know what you're really trying to say here. Yeah, no, that is another really sweet CG though, where he hugs her from behind. Like it's such a sweet one. I won't go too deep into the implications here, but Kohei does return from the Eternal World a year later, which happens in the epilogue of the route. After we get we get like a whole thing in sepia where we see all the CGs for a bit, and we get a new track there, and then we see the epilogue, and then we get the ED, which I do think is different from the original. I don't have a preference one way or the other. I don't know about you.
I don't think that was different from the original. I think it's the same, but I can't be sure about that. I need to check.
I thought we get the epilogue after the credits in the original, but this time it's before.
I don't remember, but
it says they play the original song at first during the ED and then the new song. No, they don't play.
No, we're not talking about that.
I'm not talking about that.
I'm talking about the sepia thing, which I think was in the original, but I don't think it was this like the exact sepia effect. However,
it was in the original. Yeah, I think the order of things is what changed.
I can't say for sure. It's been a long time since I read the original, but I really like that the route had like a positive parting. It's like Kohei said to Mio, like he was going to try his best to come back, and he's like, wait for me, please. Just wait for me, and I promise I'll come back. And Mio just does that. She does just that. She fully trusts him.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like the most precious thing on the planet. Like, oh, that fountain CG is so cute and so powerful. I
love it so much.
And like I really like how the epilogue is done, because we see it from the perspective of another drama club member. We don't see this through Mio's perspective. We see this through another person who knows Mio, and we get to see everything happen in third person. Like their tearful reunion. It was so cute. And it's like seeing like Mio in the third year outfit was also like freaking adorable. It's
Oh yeah, you're right. That's true.
Yeah, another year passed, and Mio's done her final year, and it's just the most wholesome thing ever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love them.
I would say Mio and Kohei have one of like
for
the
us.
best.
It wasn't sepia, but the song and order is basically the same in the original, so I was wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So yeah, I don't remember who said this, but something I do agree with is that Kohei and Mio have like one of the most healthiest relationships in the entirety of one. Like, they are very good.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very good for each other, and I feel like Mio changed Kohei in a way that is like what ended up with one of the best Koheis we've gotten at the end of the route.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I would agree.
They're
with
a very
too.
good match. Yeah, and I feel like because of that, like that, this is a very positive relationship, and I feel like it's very wholesome as well. And again, shout out to my friend Yudono Tamoto. They're a huge Mio fan, and they've adored her for years, and they were super hyped up for this remake. And yeah, I'm just happy to see. I'm happy to see a friend enjoy and see their favorite character again after so many years.
Yeah, like I am very happy for them.
Yeah.
All right, what did you rate the route?
I don't. Hang on, let me go back to my review actually. It's been a while.
I'll go first. I gave it an 8. I think the childhood friend thing was half-baked. But the drama club stuff was so well done that I honestly did not mind. Right. So still one of the better routes in the game for me.
Right. I think I gave it an 8. I said winter is cold, heart is warm.
Yeah.
Because that is what the whole part, like that's the whole thing about what makes Mio route good is that it's comfy and wholesome. And that's like the best part about one is that it's comfy. That's the whole reason I like this visual novel is that it has a good vibe. It has like warm feelings, and they have like, especially with Kohei and Mio, they have one of the like probably the most wholesome relationship of the entire visual novel. It's like they're just so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Misaki
All right,
time.
now we talk about Misaki. Okay, so this is like the fan favorite route that I've noticed, aside from Akane, and
yeah,
fully
if not
deserved.
With the book club, even more so.
Yeah, the book club has been like a lot of people have been loving Misaki, and I'm pretty sure like you lost a bet with Nari with Misaki being their favorite.
Oh yeah, I had to put marshmallows in my socks because I bet it was going to be Akane, and I was wrong, and it was Misaki, and I'm like, if I have to put marshmallows in my socks, which was very unpleasant to clean up, by the way, I do it for Misaki.
Did you take pictures? I did not see them if you did.
Oh, I took a video. It's pinned in book club chat.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's awful.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he actually did the madman.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you did. That's crazy. Okay, so, yeah. I love Misaki. I think Misaki has, like, the best introduction of the heroines. Like, she leaves an immediate impression, like I said. And her route is also one of the best in the game. Now, as far as I remember, I think what happened with you is your opinion on Kohei lowered, but your opinion on Misaki stayed the same. Is that correct?
Pretty much. I think, like, I read this route first in the remake, and I think what I had realized is that Kohei in this route, is not as amazing as I remember because a lot of the problems that come up with the Eternal World stuff are more his own fault here. It's very obvious that he was not trying hard enough to maintain his relationships with anyone other than Misaki, which did kind of annoy me. However, it's not a problem that's unique to Misaki route. I just think it's most obvious here.
I mean, it's something I felt was always the case, but at the same time, it's like
it again, probably was.
I will save what I have to say about Kohei for the Nagamori route, because as we'll find out in that route is not really a Nagamori route. But that's like a whole other discussion. It's just
yeah, there's a lot to be said about that route.
Yeah. So the Misaki route, yeah, I think aside from that, I would also still just call this like one of the best routes and like from a romance standpoint. It is so well done.
I love the romance.
The romance is amazing, and probably like the more amazing thing is that out of all the heroines, I think this is like the most well done a disability has been like tackled in anything I've read. Period. Like it is so well done.
It's up there, like, because like one of the very intriguing things about Misaki route, and I'll just kind of go through this because it is the real meat of this route, is that you meet Misaki in the school and you're like, oh, she's very confident. She doesn't let the blindness get her down. And it's wonderful to see. And once Kohei realizes that in like their second or third meeting, he's just like, he's treating her normally as he would treat anyone. But then with that comes the caveat of, I want to ask her out. She's pretty. Of course I want to ask her out. I want to take her downtown. And she hates the idea. And then like you wonder, oh, okay, what's going on with that? And then there's the realization of her only being confident because the school is somewhere she was able to be when she could still see. So there's all kinds of things being revealed there. One, Misaki wasn't blind from birth. She lost her eyesight around 6th grade-ish when she was like 12 or 13.
Which is far, like, okay, blindness is bad. Like, it is not a good thing to have, regardless of circumstance. But having it first, I feel like, is like way more of a struggle because now you have like expectations and it's something that's been taken away from you. That is something that's very hard to cope with. And I can... Like
it's amazing she was holding up as well as she did.
They touch on that, is that Misaki at one point was considering taking her own life because she was like having like a lot of trouble coping with the fact that she couldn't see anymore. But like she pulled through and she found strength to like keep going even despite that. She was like, well, everything it's just she just found it a bit ridiculous, but like she says she found it a bit ridiculous, but like having the power to still like live in a world despite losing some like one of your biggest gifts it takes a lot of power. Like it takes a lot of strength to say that, and she did it.
Yeah, a lot of it took a lot of courage to keep going. But her struggle also feels so human, cause like. One of the things that she lamented the most right around the time she lost her sight is not being able to see the finale of a TV show she was watching. That's just like such a human worry, and it sounds silly when you say it out loud, and she straight up says it. It sounds silly when I say it out loud, but think of if you were in that situation. I would feel the same way, you know?
If I couldn't watch Pretty Cure or Kamen Rider for the rest of my life, I'd be pretty sad too. I can't.
Yeah, like it's a human worry. And one that like I really appreciated the addition of. And like one thing Misaki route in general just does so well is it takes some like simple mundane things like parts of life and just really brings them to how Misaki has to handle them. Kohei has an amazing moment late in the route where he goes to return a book in the school library and he tries to do it with the lights off and he fails.
It's just, and it's like the realization is like...
It's an amazing fucking scene.
This is just what she has to deal with. And Kohei's like, I'm such an idiot for like taking this for granted. It really puts things into perspective. And I think it's like one of his best scenes in the route. And part of me because what happened is Misaki came in, opened the door and turned on the lights. Part of me wanted to see Misaki just like come in the complete darkness, not know the lights were off and just go like, just do it with him. like just guide him through and help him come out on his own. And I'm like,
that would have been really cool.
That would have been really cool, but I'm not mad with what they did. Like, it is
Me
totally, yeah, it is just such a good scene regardless. Like, holy crap, this is such a good route.
Yeah. We're jumping around a lot. There's a lot of like that's one for you. But like going backwards, one other piece to this route is like you have this whole thing with Christmas where Kohei's just kind of trying to give her a normal Christmas too. It's like you're ramping up in stakes here, with them just trying to live their lives. But the stakes don't actually ramp up. It's just what you know about Misaki and her struggles and how she feels about it is slowly like given to you in little bits of information where everything is recontextualized. It is such a Hisaya move, and like it's one that, you know, it comes up in IU's route too, and it really comes up in Crystar, where like you just
one day I will play that, and one day I will scream and cry.
I think you will love it. I really think you will love it.
Shout out to
Crystar, big recommend if you're into action RPGs. And don't mind a little bit of repetitive gameplay to in between a very good story.
Lucy says it's if not Hisaya's best work, and I'm very high praise. I'm excited to see it.
In my opinion, it is Hisaya's best work, yes.
Yeah, and like I love Hisaya as a writer personally, so and
Me
like
too.
this is like one of the biggest examples of like Hisaya at his best. Like holy crap, one really shows how much this man can shine. Because Misaki route is one of those examples. Like, oh my god, this route is so good.
Yeah, and like the thing that like one thing at least that just kind of makes this better than Mio route for me is that they didn't try to focus on two plots. He really just stuck with one. Just stuck with the Misaki plot, and so nothing feels half-baked in this route. Yeah. Even though it's still a one route, it's still short. It feels complete.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to stop myself from giggling about when you said he's stuck with one route.
Oh my god.
One plot point.
We made like so many accidental one puns. I'm surprised.
It's too easy.
I'm surprised Andre hasn't pointed out all of them. Shout outs to Andre here.
Yeah. Oh, MM, thank you so much. Thank you so much for posting this. I completely forgot, but yes, we have to talk about this.
We have to talk about the New Year's card.
Oh, it's so good. Just like the fact that Koei just it did take there is a choice for him to not realize, but I'm so glad that once you do realize it's Misaki, he's just like, I'm such an idiot for not like taking this immediately. This
is that a route choice? I think that's a necessary choice.
It is a necessary choice.
Okay.
If you do not do this, you do not get on the route.
Yeah, or I think fitting. you get the bad end, because once the new year rolls around, you are committed to a route, and it's just either do you get the good end or the bad end.
Yeah.
So because of this, like you're on Misaki route at this point, but I think you actually get the bad end if you don't realize it, because then Kohei doesn't try to make the card in fucking Braille by poking through the back of a paper with a pencil. That is so cool. I never would have come up with that.
It's good, but it's like it shows you that that's the kind of dedication that Kohei Kohei got. Like Misaki drew him a card, like wrote him a card despite not being able to see. Like I feel like it is like a good like contrast of how much effort the other puts into the like each of them. With words, it's a good example of showing how much effort Kohei has to put into it to equal how much effort Misaki put into his card. Like they both put a lot of effort into each other's card, and I feel that's really sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen the pencil poked Braille card.
That would have been really funny.
That would have been really fun. I think. I don't actually know at all how Braille works in Japanese. Are there just like Braille symbols for hiragana? Like,
no idea.
I don't know. Like,
okay, so yes, it seems like there's like, yeah, there's just Braille for the katakana and hiragana.
For the kana. Okay.
Yeah, for the kana stuff. So yeah, that's how it works. And it seems simple enough. It's like literally just told in 6. So yeah, I could see how he would do that, but that would take a lot of time, and like good on him for doing that. Like that's really sweet.
it shows his dedication and like again forming a bond, which is something that like is actually somewhat mentioned in this route, but will really get mentioned in later routes like Nagamori and Shun, where forming a bond is very, very important, and it's one of the like stepping stones he needs to form that bond with Misaki. He needs to exchange the New Year's cards with her so they talk about it the next year. He needs to actually try to understand and empathize when he returns that book with the lights off. He needs to, you know, he needs to do all these things to form the bond. And that's one thing I love about like one's choice system, is that like you keep getting choices within the route and you can get a bad end like in all of these routes.
Like with all kinds of like recovery and like decisions in life, you have to actively choose to do something. You can't just expect things to be better. You have to watch yourself, know what you're doing, and stop your bad habits. Make an active choice to change yourself. And I feel like that's like the best thing about, especially because we'll talk about this more about this in the next episode, but Maeda and Hisai had very different interpretations and goals with writing Kohei. Maeda wanted to show Kohei like as a person with his own struggles, like someone who is very flawed in his own right, and he's not able to get through them without support. Hisaya, on the other hand, he wanted to show Kohei improve from his problems and overcome his own struggles, which again I won't talk too much about until Nagamori route. But this is also something that's prevalent in every route, is that Kohei has to choose to become a better person, and that's something that's very core to his character, is that he is not a good person, but he can become one if you fight for that good ending, and you have to fight for that good ending. You can't just expect it to be handed to you on a plate. You have to make the right choices in life. That's how life works.
When I read the remake with the hint system because like I was trying to read it kind of quickly, but when I read the original without it, it was kind of like Clanad Light in terms of its choice system, in that and I have come around on that it is useful for the narrative. It is brutally difficult, this game. Like once you get into the routes, it's less difficult, but it is still like not uncommon to get a bad end once you're already in the route and then have to go back and reload a save. You know, it is like something that you do. You actively make the choice. And, you know, becoming a better person is actively making a choice. It's not just something that's going to happen. So one thing, like, even though Kohei, I still find him annoying. I still don't think he's very funny. His development is very good.
Yeah, I respect that. I definitely agree with that. And I feel like, especially in the Hisaya routes, where Hisaya wanted to bring the best in Kohei's growth, he absolutely succeeded.
I totally agree.
Like, we've mentioned this in Mio route, we've mentioned this in Misaki route. He brings a Kohei that I feel like has become a basis to protagonists in other keywords. Because what's a theme about Key in general? Becoming stronger, becoming a kinder person, becoming a better person. This formula that Hisaya made is what became the formula for key protagonists in the future. Which is so important.
Hisaya, I miss him. I'll just say that much. Like,
he did really good work.
he left Key after canon, and like we know from some interviews that he was apparently not like the easiest person to work with. But his legacy is very important to what would eventually become Key, and it started
absolutely.
It started in Moon. He wrote Yui's scenario, which is very well done, but like it really like took its form here, especially with Misaki route.
Yeah, like you get the whole arc of Kohei learning to become a better person for Misaki, and eventually when the conflict starts happening, the thing that I really liked about Misaki route is that the bond is not just told to us or shown to us like in a romantic sense, but it's also shown in the fact that Misaki is willing to open up with Kohei with things that she won't even talk to like her closest friends with. Like the things that Kohei knows are things that she hasn't even shared with Yukimi, like her other best friend.
Yeah.
Which is like amazing. That it goes to show the depth of the relationship that they built together. It's like it is something really precious, and the amount of it shows that even someone as strong as Misaki has weaknesses, as anyone should, and that these two are willing to work together to try and overcome that. Like Kohei wants to help the person he cares about. He wants to help Misaki go out into the world and not be afraid to take that other step, which is like that is impressive for Kohei, who is a person who is known for not giving a crap about people.
Yeah, and like sometimes that's what it takes. You just gotta find the person you can bond with and make the choice to do that.
Yeah, it's like they have a really good relationship. I definitely think Misaki is like one of the other heroines that brings like the best in Kohei. It's like the way these Kohei is able to grow to help Misaki it is not as one-dimensional as say the Nakamori route, which again we'll talk about later. Like or not as one-sided. They both help each other. Like Kohei is obviously helped in that he has someone to care about, and he learns empathy, he learns how to become a better person, and he learns to care about another person who is precious to him. Misaki is able to face her more difficulties better and go outside and go on a date with Kohei, with the person she cares about. They both work on themselves together, and that makes the ending all the more painful.
I was about to say, let's talk about the date, because this has the best disappearance scene.
I'm pretty like everyone has had this reaction from what I've seen. Is that it is just the slow.
There have been so many memes made about it. Like
it's just the slow. Like inevitability, like especially if you've completed more than one route at this point, you know what's gonna happen. If this is your first route, which it shouldn't be, but you just be confused. But if you know what happens in the other routes, this is like just knowing the inevitable. It's like oh god,
the way it's
gonna
presented
happen.
Though, like where she literally can't see that he's gone. And she's in a place where she doesn't know where she is, was kind of relying on him to get around, and there's the bench, and it's empty.
It is so messed up. Just having the bench be empty, and like there were a lot of CGs too. They were just like rapid firing CGs.
Some of them were new, and some of them were in the original. Oh man,
the ice cream one was so good.
The ice cream one was very good. I actually kind of prefer the original for that one. Like, that's one where I'm just like, I do like that you can see Misaki's face in the remake version. I liked the perspective of being above her a little more than seeing her in profile. I just think it was more fitting for that particular CG, but that's such a nitpick that like, it doesn't even really matter that much. I liked it more. The other one, the one CG in this route, I do think is just straight up worse. Is the Christmas party? Kohei was in it in the remake, and he was not in the original, and he looks like a mop.
He looks like a. I hate the. Okay.
He looks like a mop. I'm sorry.
Rant time. Yeah. I absolutely loathe faceless protagonists. Especially when it comes to a visual novel. It's so bad. This I don't think Kohei is not supposed to be a character you self-insert into. If you do, I'm sorry, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly.
He is his own character in every sense. What the heck is that? It's so
It
looks
ridiculous.
So bad. It wasn't even like that in the original. It's why would you do this? This is actively it actively hurts this one CG. I will say the Midnight Kiss one is a lot better.
I like that one, yeah.
Yeah, that one is great, but the Christmas party is just it takes you out of the immersion so bad. It's what is going on? What is going on? The
Midnight Kiss one is also a different thing because Kohei was in the original version of that CG, so it still felt normal since it's
it is coming back to that. It remakes
the CG. The original of the Christmas party just had Misaki in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's there was no excuse for this, in my opinion, but that's okay.
And the worst thing is, as we'll later see, is that they can draw Kohei with eyes. They do draw Kohei with eyes. So why? Why?
And not just in the chibis.
Not just in the chibis, they do it for the CGs.
There is at least one normal CG where he has eyes.
It's so jarring. It take at least with the Kiss CGs you can say oh, his eyes are behind Misaki's hair or something. With the Christmas party, it just took me out of the immersion so badly. I was like, what is that?
He has such a derpy face in that one too.
So bad. It is actually just that horse meme where it's the half of the horse is majestic as hell and the other is just ugly. That's that CG.
Yeah, it totally is. Oh my gosh.
Literally just that.
Someone make that meme.
Yes, I got it once I get my computer back, but oh my god.
Yeah.
It's so whack. Yeah, but the Midnight CGs are all good. Holy. Again, can we mention the colors, the lighting? Oh my lord. Oh my lord. So good. The way the colors are just matched. I especially love how Misaki looks in the blue night colors. It's so good.
The really impressive one, for me, and it's up there for possibly my favorite CG in the remake, is the one of her in her casual outfit with the springtime trees around her, where you see her looking behind her.
Yeah.
With her hands behind her back. That one just oh, chef's kiss. She's so beautiful.
It's so gorgeous. I love this, the visuals of this. It's so
I also just I love the dress. It's such 90s fashion.
It is very 90s fashion.
It's so pretty. That style of dress should come back. Don't at me.
Yeah, the original CG was good, but the new one is just
the original CG was my favorite CG in the original.
It's just stunning. This game is really stunning. In exactly 3 more days, I will replace the daily key Kara CGs of the originals with the remake versions, because I warned on the account that there's gonna be a 1 month spoiler version so people can see the CGs for themselves, and I can't wait to change them.
We're
they look
3
so
days
good.
away from the 1 month anniversary. You're right.
Yep, and once that happens, I'm changing them all. God, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good. All right, I want to briefly. Do we have anything else to say about Misaki? I think we covered it.
The reunion is very wholesome. It's not something we've mentioned, or it's not something that we've gone through much, but pretty much we can just get into final thoughts and like final score. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Score. I gave this route a 9. Like it is.
I also gave it a 9. I also gave it a 9. It was it was my second favorite route in the original, and it's still my second favorite route, and I still love it.
Yep. I actually moved it down to 3rd. In this one, it slightly fell below Shun route, to the surprise of some people.
Wow. Okay, that is definitely an interesting opinion. We'll definitely have to talk about that later.
Yeah. Like hype for like Lucci's like big rant on why Shun route is a masterpiece.
I will wait. I will wait for that in 2 weeks. Yeah, but I will need explanation on that because that is a take.
Yeah.
That is like a 1 hour route.
When it comes to the heroine routes though, like it is like a solid number 2. It only lost a point because of that weird Kohei thing, and also, you know, it's a 1 route. There's only so much you can do with it.
Yeah, I feel like Misaki the heroine is like, well, in general with 1, the heroine carries a lot of the story.
Yes, like, and in this particular route, it's well done enough to the point where they focused on one aspect of Misaki's struggle and stuck to it, and just developed it.
Yeah.
Like, Misaki probably, of the heroines in this game, with the exception of Akane, I think she gets the most development. Maybe Mayu.
I was about to say Mayu gets a lot of development.
Yeah, hers is just paced poorly, but...
I would agree with that. We'll get there, which, speaking of that, next podcast is going to be the contention one, because we're going through all the Maeda routes in one go.
Well,
that's going to be the one where we have a lot to talk about.
We have a little bit of Maeda to talk about tonight, because I do want to at least very briefly touch on Misao's story, which we don't actually have any confirmation that it's Maeda, but if you've seen Angel Beats, it should be pretty obvious that this is Maeda. I would bet putting marshmallows in my socks again on that.
Right. Well, before that, I do want to say my final thoughts on Misaki.
Oh, yeah, please.
Because I had my review is that Misaki is a close runner-up for one of the best examples of what this game is capable of. A story that's willing to tackle genuine issues and show how people are able to overcome them as they are, and that people are worth the effort you put into them. I love you, senpai. It's a 9 out of 10. You do not need eyes to see Misaki's beauty. And I feel like that is like, that sentence is just like encapsulates one as a whole. It is a story willing to tackle genuine issues and show you how people are able to overcome them, and that human beings as they are worth the effort. Like, yeah, that is one. That is why I love this visual novel.
God, I'm so happy you're the main host on this book club. Like,
I love this game.
Manpig, honestly, you do this game justice. And like, I want more people to hear what you have to say about it. So like, thank you for doing this. Like,
I'm glad to do it. It's like, it's one of my favorite visual novels. So yeah, I'm glad to share my love. And I feel like, especially when it comes to Misaki, it is like, like her development is so indicative of like why one as a whole works.
Is an amazing piece of writing, you know? It's got issues, but it's still good.
There's a reason it became the key formula today. Anyway, Misao. Yeah, what do you have to say?
Misao is Kohei's little sister who died in the hospital.
Yes.
And is one of the biggest sources of his depression.
Yes.
I loved this in the remake. I hated it in the original. And it's one thing that like I really understood a lot more because of its presentation in the remake. One thing, in the original, it was almost all in black and white screens. Here we actually like, it's not even like we see the characters even, but just something about the voice performance of Misao and Kohei's mother, who I couldn't even name who the seiyus are. Like, I don't know who they are. Whoever they are,
I don't think
shout
they're
outs
mentioned.
to them. They might be in the credits, but I don't know how to read the kanji of names really at all. Like, those performances really just sold this sequence as something that really hit Kohei hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is the quite literal trigger to everything that the reason why our main character is the way he is, and not a very good person.
Yeah, and like little things that were happening, like where Kohei's going to like be their father for the school conferences and stuff, where he like puts the cans on his feet and to make himself taller. Like, that's just such a Maida move to me too.
It is like it is really heartwarming, and it's like, again, I'm gonna go into the Kohei breakdown tomorrow, like next time, because like him or not, Kohei certainly has a lot to talk about. But when you see the type, like the amount of effort he put into caring for his little sister in her final moments, and the fact that despite everything, she was taken away from him, and his life just like, his family just broke apart after that. Like, he never talked to his mother that much ever again. They were never that close after that. Like, you can see why.
The last time they saw each other was at the funeral.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he went to move in with Yukiko.
Yeah, and like, you can see why he wouldn't think that humans are like putting in the effort to form connections is worth it after such a loss. Like, because he put so much effort into trying his best to like keep his little sister happy, and what did that lead him?
If
sadness.
Misao got taken away from me, if the world can do that, then who would want to live in this world? I'd rather live in the eternal world. You know,
funny.
It makes complete sense when you like really see it. How it's played out here, and like, I do think that Maida may have, if this is actually Maida, which, like, based on the writing style, I'm assuming it is, but again, we do not have official confirmation. I want to leave with that, because if a interview comes out later and it turns out we're wrong, I don't want to be putting my foot in my mouth. But if it is, you can see how much he loves this idea, considering he basically did the same thing but better in Angel Beats. Which I won't talk too much about because I don't want to spoil Angel Beats, but if you liked this story and for some reason you're one of the 2 people listening to this episode who hasn't read or watched Angel Beats, do that. It's really good.
Yeah, I would also agree that that's like one of the best parts of Angel Beats. Like,
yeah,
it is really well done. And I think that's all for this episode. So
yeah,
that was the Common Route, Mio Route, and Misaki. Like, it is a very much high point because we've been very positive this episode. Oh boy, is that not going to last? Wow, that's not going to last very long.
Next week, this is why we put the 3 Maida routes in one episode, because that next week is going to be the very debate-heavy episode, and then the third one, which is Shun Akane, the Eternal World, and just kind of one as a whole, will be back to gushing. So, like, if you really only want to see the positive stuff, you have 2 of the 3 episodes of the book club.
The next one will be where most of the criticisms really rear their head and like show why, despite all the good points we've mentioned, one still very much is a 90s visual novel. This is a product of the era.
Yes, absolutely. So that's what's coming up. We kind of already mentioned it, but next week will be the 3 Maida routes. The following week will be Shun, Akane, and Eternal World one as a whole. After that, coming up, after One Book Club, will be the return of Season 4. Found will be making his Key Radio Live debut to talk about Tomoyo After with us. And Uti will be talking about Kudo After. Those 2 will be on one episode. and then we'll kind of just go through the key works from there. Lunaria Book Club from the 22nd of me too. From the 22nd of February, podcast on March 1st. And that's an episode. Good night, everyone.
Good night.